The Eternal Dawn was the pride of humanity. She was massive, nearly 4 kilometers long, and carried 12,000 souls within her steel walls. Captain Park Do-hyun stood on the bridge and looked out at the stars. He had commanded this ship for 15 years, and he loved her like a second home. The year was 2847, and humanity had been part of the Galactic Coalition for 300 years. But being part of something and being respected were two very different things. The aliens looked at humans the way a grown man looks at a child playing with toys. They tolerated humanity, but they never took them seriously. The Valori were the worst. They were an ancient race with blue skin and cold eyes. They controlled the coalition and made sure everyone knew it. Their ambassador, a tall creature named Thalos, often said that humans had stumbled into space before they were ready. He said it with a smile, but everyone knew what he really meant. Captain Park did not care about politics. He cared about his crew and his mission. Today, they were patrolling near the Void Expanse, a region of space that no one had ever mapped. It was empty and dark, and ships that went too deep into it never came back. Lieutenant Commander Yoon-hana stood beside him. She was his tactical officer, sharp and quick, with eyes that missed nothing. She looked at her screens and frowned. "Captain, I am picking up strange readings," she said. "There is some kind of energy field ahead. I have never seen anything like it." Park leaned forward. "Show me." The main screen flickered and displayed a swirling mass of light and darkness. It was beautiful and terrifying at the same time. It looked like a womb in space itself. "What is that?" Park asked quietly. "Unknown, sir." It appeared suddenly. "Our sensors cannot understand it." Park thought for a moment. He should turn back. That was the safe choice. But something pulled at him, something deep in his chest. Humanity had always been told to stay in their corner, to not explore, to not take risks. He was tired of playing it safe. "Take us closer," he ordered. Slowly, the Eternal Dawn moved forward. The crew watched in silence as the strange light grew larger on their screens. Some of them felt fear. Others felt wonder. All of them trusted their captain. Chief Petty Officer Kang Jung-woo worked in the engine room, far below the bridge. He was a quiet man who loved machines more than words. He had a daughter back on Earth, a little girl named Mireille, who was only 12 years old. He had promised her he would come home soon. The ship shook. Alarms began to scream. "Captain!" Yoon-hana shouted. "The energy field is pulling us in. Engines cannot fight it." Park gripped his chair. "All power to engines. Get us out." But it was too late. The Eternal Dawn was caught like a fish in a net. The swirling light wrapped around the ship, and everything went white. The crew felt themselves being pulled in a direction that did not exist, stretched across time and space. And then they were gone. On Earth, Admiral Baek Sun-ho received the news 3 days later. The Eternal Dawn had missed all communication checks. Search ships found nothing at their last known location. There was only empty space and silence. The Admiral was an old man with a heavy heart. He had known Park Do-hyun for 30 years. They had served together as young officers. Now he had to tell the world that his friend was dead. The announcement was made on every human world. 12,000 people lost. The greatest ship humanity had ever built gone. Families wept. Children lost parents. The human race mourned. But the Valori did not mourn. Ambassador Thalos spoke at the Coalition Council with fake sadness in his voice. "This is a tragedy," he said. "But perhaps it is also a lesson." The humans went where they should not have gone. They were not ready for such exploration. They are still young, still learning. We must guide them more carefully in the future. The other species nodded. Some felt real sympathy, but most simply agreed with whatever the Valori said. That was how the coalition worked. Humanity's position in the galaxy fell even lower. Over the next 2 years, they lost 3 colony worlds in what the coalition called diplomatic restructuring. In truth, it was theft. The Valori took what they wanted, and no one stopped them, but not everyone accepted the loss. On Earth, a 12-year-old girl named Kang Myre refused to believe her father was dead. She sat in her room every night and looked at the stars. She read every report about the void expanse. She studied every piece of data she could find. Her mother told her to let go. Her teachers told her to move on. But Myre was stubborn in the way that only children who have lost everything can be. "He is alive," she whispered to herself. "I know he is alive." Years passed. Myre grew up. She joined the Earth Defense Fleet on her 18th birthday. She trained harder than anyone else. She rose through the ranks like a fire climbing a mountain. And every night, no matter how tired she was, she looked at the stars and remembered her promise. She would find the eternal dawn. She would find her father. And she would prove to the galaxy that humanity was not weak. The Valori continued to grow stronger. The coalition continued to ignore humanity. And somewhere, in a place beyond normal space, the eternal dawn drifted through light and shadow. Her crew slept in frozen pods, dreaming of home. Captain Park Do-hyun floated on the bridge, his eyes closed. He did not know how much time had passed. He did not know if they would ever escape. But even in his deepest sleep, he held on to one thought. He would bring his crew home. The galaxy had forgotten the eternal dawn. But the eternal dawn had not forgotten the galaxy. And one day, she would return. The stars were patient. They had waited for billions of years. They could wait a little longer. 70 years had passed since the eternal dawn vanished. The story had become a legend, a ghost tale that old officers told young cadets late at night. "Be careful near the void expanse," they would say. "That is where the eternal dawn sleeps." But for Admiral Kang Myre, it was not a story. It was her life. She was 94 years old now, though she looked 60 thanks to life extension technology. Her hair was silver, and her eyes were hard as iron. She had spent her entire career climbing to the top of Earth's military, and she had never stopped searching for her fathership. Some called her obsessed. Others called her mad. She did not care what they called her. She only cared about the truth. Commander O Taiwan served as her aide. He was a young man, only 35, with a kind face and loyal heart. He did not believe the eternal dawn would ever return. But he believed in Admiral Kang, and that was enough. "Admiral," he said one morning, entering her office, "the Coalition Council has made their demands." Kang did not look up from her screens. "Tell me." "They want us to surrender our remaining military vessels. They say it is a gesture of good faith." Now she looked up. Her eyes burned with cold fire. "Good faith. They want us defenseless." "Yes, Admiral." The Valori had grown bolder over the decades. Chancellor Varek, their new leader, hated humans more than any Valori before him. He believed that humanity was a disease that needed to be contained. He spoke openly about quarantining humans to their home system, cutting them off from the rest of the galaxy. Earth's government was weak. Years of being pushed around had broken their spirit. Many leaders wanted to accept the coalition's demands. They saw no other choice, but Admiral Kang saw differently. She had built a secret fleet over the past 20 years, hidden in the asteroid belts and dark moons of the outer solar system. It was small, only 50 ships, but they were the best humanity had. She had trained their crews herself. "We will not surrender," she said quietly. "Not while I breathe." Commander O nodded. He had expected nothing less. That night, something strange happened. Admiral Kang was alone in her quarters, reading old reports from the void expanse for the 1000th time. Her computer beeped. A message had arrived through a channel that should not exist. The encryption was old. Very old. It used codes that had been classified 70 years ago. Codes that only the command staff of the Eternal Dawn had known. Kang's hands trembled as she opened the message. There were only coordinates and 3 words. We are returning. She stared at the screen for a long time. Her heart beat so hard she could hear it in her ears. For 70 years, she had waited. For 70 years, she had believed when no one else did. And now, finally, her faith was being answered. She called Commander. Oh, immediately. Wake the fleet. We leave in 6 hours. Admiral? What is happening? I received a message. The old codes, Taiwan. The codes only my father's ship knew. O's face went pale. That is impossible. I have spent my whole life waiting for the impossible. Prepare the ships? She did not tell Earth's government. She did not ask for permission. This was beyond politics, beyond rules. This was personal. 6 hours later, 50 human warships slipped out of hiding and jumped into hyperspace. Their destination was a point on the edge of Coalition territory, near the border of the void expanse. No one knew they were coming. Chancellor Varric was giving a speech that day. He stood before the Coalition Council and spoke with poison in his voice. The humans are dangerous, he said. Our scientists have studied their genetics. They are unstable, prone to violence, incapable of peace. For the safety of all species, they must be contained. I propose we remove them from the Coalition entirely and restrict them to their home system. Many species looked uncomfortable, but no one spoke against them. The Valori were too powerful. Their fleet was the largest in the galaxy. Their technology was the most advanced. No one wanted to make them angry. Far away, Admiral Kang's fleet dropped out of hyperspace at the coordinates from the message. They found nothing but empty space and distant stars. Admiral, Commander O said carefully, there is nothing here. Kang stood on her bridge, staring at the view screen. We wait. For how long? As long as it takes. Hours passed. Some of the crew grew restless. Some began to whisper that the Admiral had finally lost her mind. But Kang did not move. She stood like a statue, her eyes fixed on the darkness. And then the darkness changed. A point of light appeared, small at first, then growing. Space itself seemed to bend and twist. Colors that had no names rippled across the view screen. The crew gasped and stepped back from their stations. What is that? Someone whispered. A hole opened in the universe. It was vast, larger than any ship, filled with swirling energy that hurt to look at. And from that hole, something emerged. The Eternal Dawn came through the rift like a god returning from the heavens. But she was not the same ship that had vanished 70 years ago. She was 3 times larger now, covered in strange technology that glowed with soft blue light. Her hull was different, stronger, made of materials that no human had ever seen. Admiral Kang felt tears running down her face. She did not wipe them away. The communication screen flickered. A face appeared. It was a man in his 50s with kind eyes and gray hair. He looked exactly as he had 70 years ago, not a single day older. This is Captain Park Do-yeon of the Eternal Dawn, he said. We have been gone for a long time, but we never forgot our home. He paused and smiled. And we have brought gifts. Admiral Kang found her voice. It came out as a whisper. Welcome back, Captain. The galaxy has changed while you were away. Park's smile faded slightly. Then, perhaps it is time to change it again. Behind him, the Eternal Dawn hung in space like a promise. A promise that humanity would never be forgotten again. Admiral Kan Mireille could not stop staring at the view screen. The ship floating before her was impossible. The Eternal Dawn had been huge before, but now it was a monster. Strange towers rose from its hull. Lights pulsed across its surface like a heartbeat. It looked alive. "Admiral, Commander," O said softly. "Captain Park is requesting permission to dock a shuttle." Granted, immediately. 20 minutes later, Kang stood in the shuttle bay with her heart in her throat. The door opened, and Captain Park Do-yoon walked out. He moved like a man half his age, strong and confident. Behind him came Lieutenant Commander Yoon Hana and a dozen other crew members. They all looked exactly as they had 70 years ago. Park stopped in front of Kang. He studied her face for a long moment. "Kang Myrae," he said slowly. "Jungwoo's daughter. You were 12 years old when we left." "I am 94 now," she said. Her voice cracked. "I never stopped looking for you." Park's eyes grew sad. 70 years. For us, it was only 4. 4 years? How is that possible? The rift we fell through led to another place. A dimension where time moves differently. One day, there was 18 days here. We had no way to know. He paused. "I am sorry. We tried to come back sooner, but we needed time to understand what we found." "What did you find?" Park looked at Yoon Hana. She stepped forward and activated a small device. A hologram appeared in the air, showing ruins of massive buildings floating in an empty void. "We found the architects," Yoon said. "Or what was left of them. They were an ancient civilization, billions of years old. They built things that we cannot even understand. Cities the size of planets. Machines that bend reality. They were the first intelligent species in the universe." Kang listened in silence. The other officers in the bay had stopped breathing. "They died out millions of years ago," Yoon continued. "But they left their technology behind. We spent 4 years studying it, learning from it. We upgraded the Eternal Dawn with what we learned." "That explains the ship," Commander O said. "But it does not explain why the Valori are so afraid of the void expanse. They forbid anyone from going there." Park's face hardened. "Because the Valori have a secret. A secret they have kept for 10,000 years." He gestured, and the hologram changed. It showed ancient records, symbols that looked similar to Valori writing but older, much older. "The Valori did not develop their technology," Park said. "They found it. They stumbled upon a small architect outpost at the edge of the void and took everything they could carry. Their engines, their weapons, their shields, all of it came from the architects. They have been lying to the galaxy for 10,000 years." Kang felt cold. "They built their entire empire on stolen glory." "Yes, and they know that if anyone else found the architect ruins, the truth would come out. That is why they keep everyone away from the void. That is why they treated the Eternal Dawn's disappearance as a warning to others. They were afraid someone would discover what you discovered." "Exactly." Kang's mind raced. This information could destroy the coalition as it existed. The Valori's power came from the belief that they were the most advanced species. If other races learned they were just thieves who got lucky, everything would change. "We need to tell everyone," she said. "We will. But first, I need to see my crew's families." 70 years. Park's voice broke slightly. "Most of them are gone, aren't they?" Kai nodded slowly. "Many have passed, but not all. And there are children and grandchildren who grew up hearing stories about you. And Jungwoo? Your father? Is he... He is alive, Captain. He is on the ship." All 12,000 crew members survived. Kang felt her legs go weak. "Commander," O caught her arm. For 70 years, she had hoped. Now hope had become reality. "Can I see him?" she whispered. Park smiled gently. "Of course. He talks about you every day. He kept a picture of you by his bed for 4 years. He never lost faith that he would see you again. They walked through the eternal dawn together. The corridors were different now, wider and filled with soft light. Crew members nodded at them as they passed. These people had left 70 years ago, but to them, it felt like last month dawn. They reached a small room near the engine section. Park pressed the door panel, and it slid open. Chief Petty Officer Kang Jung-woo sat inside, reading a book. He was 62 years old, the same age he had been when he left. His hair was gray, and his hands were rough from years of working with machines. He looked up when the door opened. His eyes found Mireille. For a moment, he did not recognize her. Then understanding dawned on his face. "Mireille?" he whispered. "My little girl?" "Appa," she said. The word came out like a prayer. She ran to him. He stood and caught her in his arms. They held each other and wept, an old woman and her father, reunited across 70 years. "I am sorry," Jung-woo said. "I am so sorry I was gone so long." "You came back," Mireille said through her tears. "That is all that matters. You came back." Around them, the ship hummed with power. Outside, the fleet waited. And across the galaxy, the Valori had no idea that their world was about to collapse. The truth was coming. And nothing would ever be the same. News traveled fast in the galaxy. Within 3 days, every species knew that the eternal dawn had returned. They heard about the ship's impossible transformation. They heard whispers about secrets from the void expanse. They heard that humanity had found something that could change everything. Chancellor Varric received the news in his private chambers on the Valori homeworld. His blue skin turned pale. His cold eyes filled with something he had not felt in centuries. Fear. "This cannot be," he said to his advisors. The ship was supposed to be destroyed. The void was supposed to kill them. They survived, Chancellor. And they have been broadcasting strange claims about the architects. They say we stole our technology. Varric slammed his fist on the table. Lies. Dangerous lies that must be silenced before they spread. He sent an order to the Valori fleet. 200 warships, the largest force assembled in 50 years, jumped to the coordinates where the eternal dawn was waiting. Their mission was simple. Capture the ship. Destroy its records. Kill anyone who resisted. Captain Park Do-hyun watched them come. He stood on his bridge with Lieutenant Commander Yoon Hana at his side. The view screen showed 200 enemy ships dropping out of hyperspace, forming a wall of metal and weapons. "Captain," Yoon said calmly, "they are targeting our engines. They want to disable us. They want to board us and steal what we know." Park shook his head. "Just like they stole from the architects. Orders, sir?" Park thought for a moment. He could destroy the Valori fleet. The architect technology had given the Eternal Dawn weapons that could tear through shields like paper. One shot could kill thousands, but that was not who he was. That was not who humanity should be. "Target their engines and weapon systems only," he said. "Disable them. Do not kill. Sir, they will not show us the same mercy. That is exactly why we must show it to them. The galaxy is watching. Let them see the difference between us and the Valori." The Valori fleet opened fire. Hundreds of energy beams streaked toward the Eternal Dawn. The crew braced for impact, but nothing happened. The beams hit an invisible shield and vanished like rain falling into the ocean. The ship did not even shake. "Shield holding at 100%, Yoon reported. "Their weapons cannot touch us. Return fire. Disable their engines." The Eternal Dawn fired. Single beams of blue light reached out and touched each Valori ship with surgical precision. Engines exploded. Weapon systems went dark. In less than 5 minutes, 200 warships floated helpless in space, but not a single one was destroyed. Not a single life was lost. Admiral Kang watched from her own ship. Her mouth hung open. "That is impossible," she breathed. One ship against 200, and they did not even scratch the hull. On the Valori flagship, the commander stared at his dead screens in shock. He had never lost a battle. He had never even imagined losing. And now his entire fleet was crippled by a single human vessel. Captain Park opened a channel to every ship in the area, both human and Valori. His face appeared on every screen. "People of the Valori," he said, "we are not your enemies. We did not come here to conquer or destroy. We came to share the truth. A truth your leaders have hidden from you and from the galaxy for 10,000 years. He began broadcasting the records from the architect ruins. Images of ancient technology. Evidence that the Valori had found it, not created it. Proof that their entire civilization was built on a lie. The transmission spread across the galaxy in hours. Coalition species watched in shock. Species that had bowed to the Valori for millennia suddenly saw them as thieves and liars. Everything they believed was crumbling. 3 species withdrew from the coalition within the first day. More followed. Chancellor Varric appeared before the coalition council, but his words fell on deaf ears. No one trusted him anymore. "The humans are lying," he screamed. "They created false evidence. This is a trick." Ambassador Shin Yunji stood to respond. She was Earth's new representative, a woman with fire in her heart and steel in her spine. "If we are lying," she said calmly, "then send your own scientists to the void expanse. Let them see for themselves." "What are you afraid of, Chancellor?" "The truth?" Varric had no answer. On the Eternal Dawn, the crew tried to adjust to their new reality. For them, only 4 years had passed. But for everyone they loved, 70 years had gone by. Chief Petty Officer Kang Jung-woo sat with his daughter every night. She told him about her life, her career, her struggles. He listened and held her hand. "I missed everything," he said one evening. "Your graduation, your promotions, your whole life. You missed nothing," Murray replied. "You were there. Every time I looked at the stars, I saw your face. Every time I made a decision, I asked myself what you would do. You were with me always." Jung-woo wiped his eyes. "I do not deserve such a daughter. You deserve everything, Appa, and now we have time. Maybe not as much as we should, but we have time." Meanwhile, Chancellor Varric made a decision. If he could not win through politics, he would win through force. Deep in Valori space, hidden for 10,000 years, there was a weapon. The architects had built it, and the Valori had stolen it along with everything else. It was called the World Ender, a machine capable of destroying entire planets. Varric gave the order. The weapon powered up. Its target was Earth. If he could not control humanity, he would wipe them out entirely. And then he would hunt down the Eternal Dawn and destroy everyone who knew the truth. The galaxy held its breath. The storm was coming. The World Ender moved through space like death itself. It was massive, a machine the size of a small moon, covered in weapons that could crack a planet in half. The Valori had kept it hidden for 10,000 years, waiting for the day they might need it. That day had come, Captain. Park Do-hyun received a warning from intelligence officers who had intercepted Valori communications. His blood ran cold when he read the target. "Earth," he said quietly. "They are going to destroy Earth." Lieutenant Commander Yoon Hana was already calculating intercept courses. "If we leave now, we can reach the weapon before it reaches our homeworld. But it will be close. Then, we leave now." The Eternal Dawn jumped into hyperspace. Behind her, Admiral Kang Murray followed with the human fleet. They pushed their engines beyond safe limits. Every second mattered. Yoon studied the weapon's design during the journey. It was architect technology, but twisted, corrupted. The original architects had built it to destroy asteroids that threatened inhabited worlds. The Valori had turned it into a planet killer. "Captain," she said, "I have found a weakness. There is a core in the center of the weapon. If we destroy it, the entire machine will collapse. Can we hit it from outside?" "No, the shields are too strong. Someone will have to fly inside and plant explosives directly on the core." Park closed his eyes. He knew what that meant. Whoever flew that mission would not come back. "I will go," Yoon said before he could speak. "I am the best pilot we have. I know the weapons layout. I can do this." "Hannah, no. There has to be another way." "There is no other way, sir. And we both know it." She smiled sadly. "I have spent 70 years frozen in time while the universe moved on. Everyone I knew outside this ship is gone. But I can still do one last thing that matters. Let me do it." Park wanted to argue, but he saw the certainty in her eyes. She had made her choice. "You are the finest officer I have ever served with," he said. "And you are the finest captain. Take care of our crew. Take care of humanity." She walked to the shuttle bay without looking back. The Eternal Dawn dropped out of hyperspace in front of the world ender. The weapon was hours away from Earth, close enough that people on the surface could see it as a bright dot in the sky. Panic spread across the planet. "All ships, attack," Park commanded. "Draw their fire. Give Yoon a path to the core." The human fleet threw itself at the weapon. Shields flared. Ships exploded. But they kept fighting, kept pushing, kept dying so that one small shuttle could slip through the chaos. Yoon, Hannah flew like she had never flown before. She dodged energy beams and debris. She spun through gaps that should have been impossible. Her shuttle was hit twice, but she kept going. The core was ahead, glowing with terrible power. "I am at the target," she reported. "Planting explosives now." On the Eternal Dawn, Park watched her signal on his screen. His hands gripped the arms of his chair so hard they ached. "Explosives planted," Yoon said. "Detonation in 30 seconds. Hannah, get out of there." Silence for a moment. Then her voice, calm and peaceful. "There is no time, Captain. The exit is too far. But it does not matter. I can see Earth from here. It is beautiful. I am glad the last thing I see is home. Hannah, tell them I was not afraid. Tell them I was proud to be human. Goodbye, Doyeon." The explosives detonated. The core exploded in a flash of white light. The world ender tore itself apart, breaking into a million pieces that scattered across space. Earth was safe. Lieutenant Commander Yoon Hannah died instantly. She felt no pain. On the bridge of the Eternal Dawn, Captain Park lowered his head. Around him, the crew wept for their lost friend. But they also stood straighter, prouder. They knew what her sacrifice meant. The galaxy watched what happened next. 12 species that had stayed silent during the battle came forward and announced their alliance with humanity. They called themselves the New Accord. They were tired of Valori lies. They wanted a future built on truth. Chancellor Varek tried to flee, but his own people stopped him. The Valori were not all evil. Many of them had believed their leader's lies just like everyone else. When they learned the truth, they felt shame. They arrested Varek and offered to join the New Accord as equals, not masters. Captain Park accepted. "We do not want revenge," he said. "We want peace. Real peace, built on honesty and respect." The architects left their technology for all species, not just one. Let us share it together. The coalition did not end. It transformed. Humanity took a seat at the highest council, not through force, but through courage and sacrifice. The void expanse was open to all who wished to study the architect ruins. Knowledge that had been hoarded for millennia began to flow freely. Admiral Cam Myray retired from military service. She had spent her whole life fighting. Now she wanted to rest. She returned to Earth with her father, and they bought a small house near the ocean. They sat on the porch every evening and watched the sunset. Jung-woo was still 62 years old. Myray was 94. Their time together would be short, but it was enough. "Appa," Myray said one night, "do you think Yoon Hana knew that she would become a hero?" Jung-woo thought about it. "I think she just wanted to protect the people she loved. Heroes do not think about being heroes. They just do what needs to be done." Myray nodded. She understood. Captain Park Do-hyun transferred command of the Eternal Dawn to Commander O. Taiwan. The young officer had proven himself during the battle. He was ready. "Take care of her," Park said, looking at his ship one last time. "She has more journeys ahead. Where will you go, sir?" Park smiled. "The Architect homeworld is still out there, somewhere in the void. Their records mention it. I want to find it. I want to understand who they were and why they left all this behind." The Eternal Dawn departed with Commander O at the helm. But Park stayed aboard, not as captain, but as an explorer. He had spent his life following orders. Now he would follow his curiosity. The ship jumped into hyperspace, heading for the unknown. On her hull, in small letters, someone had painted a new phrase beneath her name. "For Yoon Hana, for humanity, for the future." The stars welcomed them home. And somewhere, in the space between dimensions, the architects smiled. Their children had finally grown up. The dawn was just beginning.